Hello. Okay. Third session with networking. How many of you feeling sleeping now? Okay. It's good actually. If you see like every movie, right, particularly in Indian movie, there is a climax in end of the movie. But before the climax, if you see a lot of people in the theater, they sleep. Either because that there are two situations happen. Either the people will sleep or the people will sit in the front of the seat. Depends on the situation, based on how the movie is going there, right? The same thing happens for me. The situation, third session with networking. So I'll try to make more interactive, so that like you can grasp the thing. Before I start the session, right? So let me introduce about myself. I am Boominathan. I work as a cloud architect in Cisco. I work closely with Cisco and AWS. I help Cisco solutions on Amazon Web Services. Okay, I'm kind of like a global architect, taking care of like APJC region for the solution side. This is the quick introduction about myself. So today we are going to learn about Cloud WAN. So before I start, right, I would like to hear from you guys. How many of you already know Cloud WAN? Just raise your hands. Cloud WAN. What is that? No, this is Cloud WAN. Okay. So it looks like totally new. Then I can talk anything. There is no people there to validate, and also nobody there to interest also. So let me ask you one more time. How many of you already working with like cloud networking projects in your company? Because if you are there in enterprises, the important thing is networking. Okay. So what do you work?
Basically on a lot of networking stuff.
Perfect.
Cloud such as VPCs, transit gateways.
Great.
Routing, subnets, all that stuff, and Azure as well.
Great. I need you. Okay. So today agenda, right? So today agenda, what I'm going to talk is. So let me make like a splitted way so that I want to make sure because the Cloud WAN is totally new. It got released just like July. It's totally new, and a lot of people like big enterprises already started doing like a big POCs across APJCs, where I'm part of that. So that's what I wanted to transfer the knowledge to the wider community here. So this is the agenda. First, before I talk about cloud network like Cloud WAN, I wanted to touch base with cloud networking. Okay. And then what is Cloud WAN, what is the problem it is solving, then what are the key use cases. Then later we are going to see the walkthrough, like what are the steps involved in that. Then other thing is currently, as he correctly mentioned, so what is your name?
Sai.
Thank you, Sai. As Sai mentioned, right, so if you remember the Sai response, he ended with up to transit gateway, and he moved to another cloud. So in AWS, the latest current production is until the transit gateway. So we are going to talk about how the Cloud WAN is going to integrate with Cloud WAN as well. That is transit gateway integration with Cloud WAN, and also if you are like on-premises data center heavy environment, how are you going to integrate with Cloud WAN? And last thing is key takeaways. Okay, this is the agenda. Okay, so any questions on the agenda? Okay, perfect. So if you see, right, this is like normal virtual private cloud. So why we use virtual private cloud? Anybody? Anyone want to answer?
To keep our environment separately.
Perfect. It's kind of like a separation, meaning like a logical construct, right? Logical isolation, right? That's what we are trying to do with VPC. So in the VPC, can we create like multiple segments, multiple isolation? Just yes or no? Perfect. How we can do that? Perfect. So how we can communicate between two subnets? Security groups, by opening the ports. Okay, I think everybody understand networking pretty well. So if you see the diagram, right, so first like Amazon introduced like EC2, right, the virtual machine. So to place the virtual machine, the isolated virtual private cloud. So it's kind of like a logical network what you have in the data center. Same thing is there. So in the VPC also we can, so what is availability zone? Everybody knows that. So it's kind of like a group of data center in a single location. Same thing like multiple availability zone in the same region is called like one region, AWS region. So in the AWS region, right, the VPC is segregated across availability zone, meaning it's a regional construct. Okay, if you are creating the VPC, it will be segregated between availability zone 1 and zone 2, and if the other zones there in the region, you can enable or disable that also. Okay, and also to communicate between, to isolation inside the VPC, you can create like a multiple subnet to communicate between the subnet security group. So this portion, everybody clear, right? Okay, so now I'll ask a question before I move to the next slide. So consider as how many of you currently using multiple VPC in your environment? Why are you using?
Multiple VPCs we are using because the resources in different VPCs for high availability and all.
Perfect. So how about you?
It's just isolate the individual environment. So when
Correct.
it affects us more.
Yeah, isolate like a production, development, and also somebody this side who? Different region for global network presence. Perfect. Okay. So now this time I come. Okay. So everybody knows that right now we are using VPC, multiple VPC for like applications, global network, multiple isolation, and it's mandatory. I don't, is anybody there can say like I'm using only one VPC, only one flat network? Is anybody there in the ground or like in the room? Can say like I'm using only one VPC. Don't say I'm using demo environment. No, right? So it's kind of like a de facto standard to use multiple VPC. Now I have like another question. How are you going to, how do you communicate between multiple VPC? Perfect. That's a one way. VPC gateway. What's that? Peering? Transit gateway. Perfect. So when you say peering, what are the things you can do with peering? You have limitations, right? You can, it is like crowded. It's kind of like hub and spoke. That's where like a transit gateway comes into the picture. That's what my slide. I think you guys already saying what I wanted to say. So if you see, there are like multiple VPCs. So multiple VPCs are connected via transit gateway in the region. Consider it's a Singapore, and in the Sydney, it has like multiple regions. It's connected to the transit gateway. If I wanted to communicate between multiple VPCs, I can use transit gateway. So in a layman point of view, if you wanted to understand transit gateway, it's kind of like a virtual router. Okay, that's like a software defined virtual router where Amazon does a lot of magics inside it. Okay, so to communicate between multiple regions, how are we going to today? How are we doing today? Consider we have a workload in Singapore and we have another workload in Singapore. Both of them are APGC. How are we communicating today? Transit gateway peering. That's right. But is it like manual configuration we are doing, right? Like a lot of routing we are doing here, a lot of manual work. So did you face any time, sometimes people may come and say, hey, because of some wrong configuration, the whole application down. It happens, right? A lot of times. So, and also again, it's crowded. If you see, right, it's very good solution for peering. So generally, forget about transit gateway. If anybody there the networking knows understanding the networking, they know what is the biggest problem when it comes to peering. Because when you are doing the peering, you will limit doing the scaling. You always have the limitation. That's why like a super mesh, those kind of hub and from the hub and spoke, and those kind of things comes into the picture. Okay. So this is the common way, and everybody knows like for security, previously it was inside the data center. Now the security is moved to the cloud. Okay, so the same security also can be integrated with the transit gateway via the AWS Network Firewall Manager, where you can do like a service ingestion also. So this is like a single slide. You can understand the end-to-end. The current one. Okay, the current one. If you see, the transit gateway is used to communicate between multiple VPC and also between regions and also the internet. And if you see, transit gateway is like kind of acting as a termination point for branch office, data center, even for the users also. Okay. So until then you are clear. Now I'm going to talk about, now you already see what is the problem, right? The problem is peering, multi-crowded. So again we are going to solve the problem. That's where Cloud WAN comes into the picture. So what Cloud WAN does? There are four things. Cloud WAN builds the global network. So what is global network? If you remember the previous slide, Singapore and Sydney was there. There are like two different regions, right? To connect the two different regions, we have peering, we are doing that. So consider Singapore is there and San Jose is there. How are you going to do that? And if you are adding like a multiple region, consider like a Grab here, right? Grab customer is there in Singapore, and if they wanted to expand Grab in Indonesia, they have like another cloud. The same thing for Malaysia. It happens like that. So the scalability comes into the things and management. And another thing is in transit gateway, we are managing, and there is no problem in that. So if are like highly skilled, if we know like automation, we able to manage it perfectly. But do you think like somebody manage your transit gateway from like consider your SI manage the transit gateway? Do you feel like more happy and you can focus on the application or those kind of things, right? So that's the same thing. The Cloud WAN also doing that. It's taking the effort from the users, meaning like from the customers, and it manages the Cloud WAN. That is, it's kind of what is Cloud WAN? It's provide the global network in minutes, and also global network and hybrid connectivity, and simplify the WAN deployment. So don't think like what if you don't know understand networking, WAN, and those kind of jargons. Don't worry about that. Just remember my previous slide. If you remember my previous slide, Singapore is there, Sydney is there, multiple branches there, connecting everything. It's called WAN. Okay. So these are like the high-level problems Cloud WAN is solving. So you need to remember the three key use cases. If you ask me, hey, I attended this session, what is my only one takeaway? I would say this is the only one takeaway. If you ask me like, okay, these are like three key use cases Cloud WAN is solving. The first one is between VPCs. So previously we are using VPC. Now with the help of Cloud WAN, same thing can be connected. Another use case is related to the WAN, like Singapore and Sydney is connected. The third use case, hybrid. The same way, multiple regions inside the AWS, also the data center and branches, the entire global network. These are the top three use cases, and I'm going to talk about that in the further things. Okay. So let me pause here for a minute. Just wanted to check with you guys. Is my flow okay? Are you? Yeah. Just. Yeah. Please louder.
Is this Cloud WAN a Cisco product in AWS market, or is this a AWS product?
It's AWS product. Cloud WAN is the AWS service.
Because there is a Cisco logo, there is a bit confusing.
I'm from Cisco, and we have like joint integration. I work for a BU. Yeah. And we have like a joint partnership. So I'm going to talk about the WAN and hybrid, how Cisco and AWS in high level. Okay, these are like 6 Cloud WAN components. One is the global network, core network edge is exactly similar to the transit gateway. The difference is transit gateway is managed by the customer, core network edge is managed by the AWS. Okay, and core network policy is kind of like a single logical policy where it will be applied. It is exactly similar to CloudFormation or Terraform. It's a kind of a policy as a code. Just apply. It's a JSON document. Just add what you need to do. Like for an example, in one-liner, these are the regions I need to do, and these are my core network edge, and these are like VPC I need to attach. It will do automatically. That's where like it's. If you remember my previous slide, I say in few minutes you're able to do the global network. Okay, and segments. If you remember my first slide, what I told in the VPC, you can create multiple segments via subnet. Same way in the global network also, you can create multiple segments. Segments means like L3 routing domain. Okay, and the last one is more towards attachment. This is where like if you are existing like a VPC, you are existing VPC user or transit gateway or SD WAN or whatnot, like VPN, you can connect that with the cloud VPN. Okay, this is like a high level connectivity diagram to showcase how the cloud WAN connects with the existing VPC. So if you see, there are like multiple regions. So multiple regions, consider this region have like 2 VPC, this one has 1 VPC, and this one has like 2 VPCs. Everything will be connected to a single cloud WAN. So just ignore this slide. Previously, what do you do for three regions? What do you do for 3 regions generally? If no cloud WAN is there? Exactly. You need to create like a 3 transit gateway, right? So because transit gateway is a regional construct, you need to create 3 transit gateway. But now you are having like only 1 cloud WAN. It's also like automated creation. It will be automatically routes also automatically propagated. This is the problem it's solving. Okay. So now we have seen the VPC. Let's see about what cloud WAN sees in the nutshell. Again, if you are like enterprise architect, I would suggest you to have a look on that. This is like the global network. Same thing available for other vendors also, like other hyperscalers. If you take like Azure, Oracle also building that, but AWS is kind of like mature because it comes early. So what it does, right? If you see a single cloud WAN, I can create multiple segments. How I create like a subnet in the VPC, I can create multiple segments, hybrid, production and development, and I can attach the VPC directly to there, and also I can attach my SD-WAN like a data center and VPN, client VPN, direct connect, and even if I have like a transit gateway, those transit gateway also can be attached. You can see that it's like a single unified network. Okay, so maybe the outside maybe see like it's extravaganza. Inside the cloud, this is it happens, like segments will be there. This is the core network policy and the global network. These are like attachments. If you see like multiple VPCs will be there. This is how it's connected. Okay, and everything is connected via the tag. That's another cool thing. Okay, so you don't need to say like biggest problem in networking, right? If you are doing like a static route, you always need to remember where I do the added the core one. I think Sai remembers. He says this like that. So every network engineer problem, that is what it's solving actually. Okay, it's automatic. So now we have seen the like high level concept and everything. To prepare a demo, it will take like at least 20 minutes to create the things. So I just take like a screenshot. So before I go through go the screenshot of the configuration walkthrough, any questions I would like to take? Yeah, please.
So this solution will replace the transit gateway, is it?
Sorry?
This solution will replace the transit gateway?
No, that's what I'm going to talk in the next one. If you remember in my agenda, the 4th one is how it's going to work. It is not going to replace transit gateway. It's kind of like an extended one. Consider you are using transit gateway. Instead of you do the peering between 2 regions, you just connect the transit gateway to the cloud WAN. You can do the migration.
When I have connectivity on my on-premise via direct connect with terminate on transit gateway, so why I need this additional solution?
Yeah, if you remember the slide, consider you have like Singapore, your customer having, the same customer having the office in Sydney. How do you connect for the Sydney?
Suppose in my case, I have everything in the Singapore region.
Don't need, simple. Yeah, only thing is if you would like to do like in the Singapore region itself, if you are doing like multiple VPC, you wanted to do the automation of the transit gateway networking configuration and management, like a service offloading to this AWS, that's where the cloud WAN. Rest you don't need. So any other questions? Yeah, please, Sai.
Something related to SD-WAN. So can you directly integrate SD-WAN with the preferred partners with AWS?
Exactly.
You have something, and right now we are doing it with as an appliance.
Sorry?
SD-WAN as an appliance.
Okay.
In a VPC where we connect it by connect attachment.
Yeah, normally.
So can we directly integrate what are the partners available right now to do it directly to the cloud WAN?
Okay, so it's currently there are a lot of partners doing the solution, and Cisco is one among them. Inside the Cisco itself, there are 2 solutions. Viptila is there, Meraki is there. I'm going to touch base with one solution, but apart from that, Cisco, Fortinet is there, VMware is there, and a lot of vendors also there, and HP, Aruba also there. Okay, so I'll move on to these walkthrough things. Okay, so creating the configuration is so simple. There are like only 3 steps.
Sorry, can we request for silence? Yeah, because it's a very distracting for the rest who are listening.
All good? Thank you. Yeah, please. Very good question. Very good question. This is the same question whenever I do like POC or demo with customer, they ask how I'm going to integrate the security with the cloud WAN. That's a good question. I'm going to, maybe I'll answer it now. So if you remember my second slide, there is AWS Network Firewall Manager, right? Same thing can be integrated with cloud WAN itself. The good thing is you can automate both things in a single network policy. That's a good thing. Is it answered? I answered your question, right? Perfect. Okay. So creating the configuration is so simple. So I just take this. That's the reason I take the screenshot. You just need to like name the global network. Then you need to tell the ASN number. Then also like what are the regions you wanted to do. And in that also you can tell like if you are having like a transit gateway, you can select that. Or if you are like a VPC there, you can select that. Then that's it. So once you are done, the configuration will be completed within like 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes it will take to complete it. Okay, and this is like a high level topology diagram. After the completion, after the configuration completes, you will get it. Okay. So this is the global network. If you see, it's Europe is there, Singapore is there, and US like San Jose also there, and East Coast also there. So this is the high level view. So it can reduce the like a network engineer's pain, particularly in the operations way. So this is like some fancy diagram, like logical diagram if you wanted to see where the traffic and multiple regions, everything. Okay. Now I'm going to come back to the question the one gentleman asked nicely. So is it going to replace transit gateway? No. Both of them are going to stay. Transit gateway is very good solution and it's running in multiple production environment today. The good thing is transit gateway can be integrated to the cloud WAN to extend the global network, and you don't need to do the configuration of transit gateway VP peering. Okay, that portion you can hand over to cloud WAN. Another thing is if you don't need transit gateway, if you are connected to the VPC, right, you can migrate the VPC from transit gateway to the cloud WAN also. You have that option. Okay. Yeah, who is the question? That's a good question. You can integrate RAM also inside the cloud WAN. RAM, right? Yeah, the multi-account that can be integrated with cloud WAN. So this is the good use case. If you are like having the enterprises customers, they mostly like acquire small companies, right? So that's that kind of things this can be used. Yeah.
When you say we can migrate from transit gateway to WAN, does it mean we need to remove the transit gateway?
There are 2 ways. Okay. One is you can have the transit gateway as it is, and instead of to connect to the transit gateway to another region like a peering, you can use cloud WAN. So cloud WAN will act as like a single logical network. Option number 1. Option number 2 is you can remove the transit gateway if you feel I don't want to configure that, I want to offload this to AWS managed services, because cloud WAN is managed services. Okay, you can have like 2 links, one VPC, one VPC connected to the transit gateway, another VPC connected to the cloud WAN, and slowly once you check the configuration, you can bypass that. So I have checked that. If you need, you can contact me. I can help you. Okay, so this is the comparison, high level comparison. If you see, transit gateway is managed by the customer and cloud WAN is fully managed by AWS, and the transit gateway, it's kind of like our own responsibility, like doing the configuration, and if needed we can integrate with cloud formation or like Terraform, whatever may be the things. But in cloud WAN, everything is like fully automated. AWS will take care of like entire route propagation, and the SD-WAN integration also automated with the help of like attachment, which I explained earlier. And cloud WAN integrates with the transit gateway, and both of them supports the direct gateway, direct connect. Okay, so this is the question somebody asked, right? How it is going to how it is going to connect to the data center, because when we say global network, that needs to connect everything from user to data center, branch to data center to cloud, between multiple cloud. That's where the key, this is the, I would like to highlight this slide. So Cloud WAN can integrate with data center, also the branch via the SD-WAN, and SD-WAN is like multiple leading vendors are there, and this is where like Cisco is one of them, one of the solution. This is the quick start, and Cisco we have like Meraki VMAX and also Viptila. So this Meraki VMAX we have already available, and multiple customers already deploying it, and this is the quick start. If you need, like you can go through it, and if you need you can reach out to me also, and it's like deployed in like a few minutes. So these are like advantage of Cisco and AWS. Somebody asked, right, why Cisco logo here? This is the reason. So it's like automation, provides like end-to-end automation to make sure like a global network and unified management and secure cloud networking. Okay. So I know like I'm running out of time. So this is like a last slide. So before I explain the last slide, I would like to take any questions. Yeah.
How did the pricing, let's say, interesting that we are attaching the transit gateway to the cloud WAN.
Okay.
Do we go the data processing charges in both the transit gateway as well as the cloud WAN?
Okay, I think this is the first time I'm seeing like organizer also asking the question. Okay, so it is exactly similar to normal AWS concept. Only the data transfer only will come into the pricing. I'll share you the pricing guide later, but not for any configuration. Like for example, we are attaching, we are detaching, those kind of things, nothing. And there is no soft limit also. Okay. So any other questions? Yeah.
So who manages the routing part actually?
AWS manages the routing port. It's a BGP supported.
So normally in the transit gateway route table we used to.
That's the pain, right? That's the pain it solves.
That is also used as a control mechanism. Like I may want all of my AWS VPCs, various accounts in different regions, different countries to be connected. But I don't want certain networks to be able to like connect to each other. So that's what you were saying. You integrate with the firewall.
That's a good one. You can, for security mechanism, you can integrate with firewall. But to answer your question, you can have the policy, network policy, right? If you remember, in that policy, we have two options. Either to accept all the, whatever the VPC we need to do, or whatever the regions, or whatever the core network is, or we need to isolate also. There are two options. You can do that. So is it answer the question? Separate. Maybe I'll have like another session to walk through the demo also. Okay. Any other question?
Sorry, I think we're off.
Okay. Okay. Then this is the nutshell. If you see, I think I don't need to explain to you. So you already aware that. Thank you. I think this session is useful. Yeah. Thank you.